Welcome to the first of 8 lessons on managerial accounting. This is a course that is best taught live, but we do have students taking it strictly online. If that is the case, would you please send me a brief memo of introduction in the online forums so that I can better address your needs for this class. I suggest, in fact, I really strongly suggest, read the syllabus, especially the 8 lessons at the end of the syllabus. Your grades are going to be based on weekly multiple choice quizzes and answers to discussion question problems that are submitted online. Note that the quizzes are twice as valuable as the problems. You will find the PowerPoint files most helpful when you are preparing for the quizzes, and those are available again on the syllabus, so be sure to watch those for each chapter. I will post a weekly video like this one to outline the material and highlight important issues in the weekly reading materials. You will note that our second scheduled class meeting falls on a holiday, Labor Day. This means that we won't see each other in class and will rely on the internet to provide direction for that week only. Discussion question number 1, which is due at the end of the week, that is Sunday midnight, is assigned from chapter 1, so you to read the chapter, do the discussion question, and prepare for the quiz. The quiz you take on your own time. Make sure that you've laid out at least a half an hour uninterrupted so that you can complete the quiz. You only get one shot each time. The second discussion question mentioned in the assignment we will discuss in class, and so it will not require a written answer unless you're taking the class online, in which case you will have to, it's the only way you can do it is by writing the answer, but we'll discuss it in class to a little bit lessen your workload. Chapter 1 is one of the key chapters because it introduces the subject, and we begin by differentiating financial accounting, which many of you have already had, the fundamental accounting course, from managerial accounting. The text has a nice handy little list of differences that you can use to read up on and explain the differences, but essentially it's this. Financial accounting is prepared for the use of people who are outside the organization and wish to understand what its financial position and strength is or is not. Managerial accounting is the daily reports given by accountants to the managers to help them in the process of managing and operating the business profitably. The next topic that is introduced here is value chain, and I want you to differentiate that from supply chain. They sound similar, the value chain, the supply chain, they are vastly different. The value chain refers to 6 activities that managers use to create value. Value for their clients, their customers, so that they will come back and purchase the product or service again and again. Very briefly, these are research and development, product design, production, marketing, distribution, and customer service. In all of these areas, the managerial accountant provides management with relevant data and analysis and reports that help them to do these 6 important functions to create value for the company. The supply chain is really the flow of materials and labor as products move from the very inception to the end user. There are a number of, they need not be part of the same organization, by the way. The text gives you some examples of Coca-Cola and Pepsi bottling companies and their position in the value chain for Walmart. There are 4 topics introduced here having to do with supply chain. The first is cost and efficiency. Accounting, managerial accounting, was originally at one time called cost accounting. And as you read through the chapters, you will discover why that is. The first 6 or 7 chapters deal strictly with cost control. And this is because it is the one thing that the firm has control over. Since profits are not under the total control of the firm, they are determined by market forces, supply and demand. And since demand is determined by customers, the only thing that the firm controls are the costs. So the more efficient, the lower the cost, the greater the production, the more profitable the firm will be. The second of these is quality, and here we come across a term that is very popular in business nowadays called Total Quality Management, or TQM. But clearly quality is an issue. It's one of the very most basic forms of competitive advantage that a firm can have. We have a better quality product, or we have a good enough quality product and a better price, or we have service quality and therefore the price is a little more, but you're going to get quality. Very important issue. Number 3 is timeliness. Timeliness refers to getting the product to the customer in a timely fashion. As customer expectations have increased in recent years, this becomes one of the most important functions of the firm. One of the interesting topics introduced in this section is a production method called just-in-time production that was invented in Japan and widely adopted throughout the world. And the notion there is to make products available for the customer in time, but not too far in advance, so that the carrying cost of inventory is greatly reduced, increasing the efficiency and cost efficiency of the firm. And the fourth topic introduced under this supply chain is innovation. Firms do not really invent, they innovate. They take the inventions from discoverers and scientists and so forth, and they convert them into products. This process is called innovation, and innovation means adding something new. Sometimes innovation could be simple as a different package, a different color for the existing package. It doesn't have to be some substantial change to the product, although that is always desirable. In fact, innovation most often consists of adding a single word to the packaging of the product and its advertising. That word is new. New Tide, new band, new cereal, new anything, new and improved is really a form of innovation. The next topic introduced in the chapter is that of sustainability. And sustainability occurs on a variety of levels, but it is an increasingly significant part of the business process is to guarantee financial, social, and environmental stability or sustainability. This is because consumers have become aware and are very concerned about issues. Finance, of course, the stockholders, investors, and other stakeholders want to know that the firm is financially sustainable, and to a large extent the financial accounting records are used in this regard. But socially sustainable, environmentally sustainable are becoming more and more issues of the day. On the social front, we see the major social networks, Google, Facebook, Twitter, and so forth, being held to account for social responsibility for giving free and equal access to all parties rather than to censor, and particularly the most hideous type of censorship that is guaranteed not to take place under our Constitution, political speech censorship, the one that is most protected and is most decried by those who have one or another political persuasion. Please shut up and don't ask questions is the mantra. And of course, political free speech is vital to a free country. Environmental sustainability, of course. Note the big controversy now with plastic straws and balloons and the damage that they create to the environment, and how do we take that into account in our value chain processes. The next item introduced that you should pay attention to is the decision-making process that management uses to research and implement new ideas, new concepts, innovations, improvements in the process. The 5-step decision process is very simple. Read it. The steps are kind of obvious. The reason they are treated here is because a formal decision-making process guarantees that you will not leave out something important, and number 2, you will involve the entire organization in the decision-making process as far as that is necessary and desirable. So a formal decision-making process is presented to you here, and we will refer back to it throughout this chapter as well as in our other management classes. Next topic deals with the career of managerial accountant, and note we start off with the C-level job called Chief Financial Officer, or CFO. The word C-level comes from the initial C in the title. A Chief Financial Officer is more than just the head of the accounting process. That is the second or third most important position in the firm. The CFO's job is to control risk and to keep the firm out of trouble, financially, legally, and in all other ways. The Chief Financial Officer has operational control over all the finances of the firm, over its accounting processes, and in particular manages the financial and managerial accounting staff. Finally, we turn to the ethics issue, and ethics is an issue that is brought up in virtually every management and business class being taught today. And the interesting thing about this is that ethics is poorly understood and very little practiced in the real world, in the marketplace. Hence the need for a discussion at this stage, when you're still beginning your careers, for what is the right type of behavior for a professional, and in this case in particular, professional accountant. What is the expectation? You will find on page 17 what's called the IMA, the International Managerial Accountants Organization, ethics statement. This statement is very complete. I'd like you to read it, and we will discuss it a bit in class as well, as we talk about how do you know the right thing to do and why should you always be doing the right thing. And this is always difficult because, as we'll discover, the right thing is almost always the hard thing. And so to do the hard thing every time in management is what's called for. It will lead to your success, and not adhering to it will lead to your downfall, quite frankly, as I've watched numerous people that I've worked with in the past, heads of government, heads of cities, heads of organizations, corporations, who are now doing time in jail for their poor decisions and poor ethical practices. That sums up the chapter for you to read. Pay close attention to those topics. Do complete discussion question number 1 and submit it online. We'll talk about discussion question number 2 in class to save you a little time. And make sure that you take that first quiz and begin the process of the study of managerial accounting. I think you'll find this a very rewarding subject because it right away gets into all of the hard issues of management right up front, and you'll see how firms operate, how they maintain their competitive advantage in the marketplace. Thank you very much. We'll see you soon.